Wars don't always end with victory parades. Sometimes they end in quiet rooms where the people who suffered the most are not invited. On 10th February 1763, a group of powerful men sat around a table in Paris and signed a treaty meant to end the 7 Years' War. On paper, it was peace. The war was over. Europe could breathe again. But the world did not become safer that day. It became owned. France arrived defeated, exhausted, humiliated. Spain arrived anxious, trying to limit its losses. Britain arrived confident, armed not just with victory but with ambition. And with every signature, something invisible was permanently shifted. France gave up Canada as if it was a bargaining chip. Rivers, forests, entire communities passed hands without a single word spoken to the people living there. Indigenous nations who had fought, bled, and died during the war were not at all mentioned. They were erased in silence. But the most dangerous consequence of the treaty weren't written loudly. They were tucked into colonial clauses and trade rights, lines that looked harmless until you followed where they led. With this treaty, Britain did not just win land, it won confidence. Confidence that it could tax colonies without consent. Confidence that it could rule from oceans away. Confidence that people would accept decisions made far from their lives. In North America, British colonies were suddenly expected to pay for a war they did not choose, but suffered through. Taxes rose, control tightened, soldiers stayed, and resentment grew quietly steadily. That resentment would soon have a name: rebellion. Across the world in India, the shift was even darker. The East India Company, once traders under royal protection, stepped into open authority. Local rulers were pushed aside. Private armies replaced diplomacy. What began as commerce hardened into control. The treaty had not brought peace to India. It had handed permission. France left the table angry, not defeated in spirit, only delayed. Spain watched carefully, learning, and Britain celebrated, unaware that the power it had just accumulated was already rotting from the inside. Because power taken without consent does not settle, it provokes. Within 15 years, Britain would face revolution in America. Within 2 centuries, its empire would fracture across continents. Every crack traced back to the decisions made in rooms where silence was mistaken for agreement. History remembers 10th February 1763 as the day a war ended. But for millions, it was the day violence changed shape, from cannons to contracts. Subscribe if you want history that exposes how power really works on this day.